the news, light up the song, all around. The Canadian gal win, we pageant beauty crown.
I think that there are more suitable Barbadian black women here that would do more justice to Barbados than a white Canadian.
And as a result of all of this controversy, under no circumstances will I represent Barbados in the Miss World competition.
This is just another in the long line of controversial events which follow the crowning of Miss Barbados 1985 3 months ago.
Both sung and said in response to the crowning of Miss Barbados 1985. Hello, I'm Sherwood McCaskey, welcoming you to Our Heritage. In this special program, we are celebrating not our built heritage, but our audiovisual heritage. On October 27, 1980, UNESCO's General Conference adopted the recommendations for the safeguarding and the preservation of moving images. It was the first international instrument to declare the cultural and historical importance of film and television recordings, calling for decisive steps to ensure their preservation. Our Heritage Miss Barbados is a fine example of investigative journalism, the whole concept of following a story to the end. But more importantly, and for the purposes of this feature, it exemplifies how current affairs events inform the writing of our local calypso music. Now, if you were around in 1985, I'm sure you would agree with me that it is somewhat difficult to erase the memories of that list of controversial events that followed the crowning of Miss Barbados. Now, the moving images that you're about to see and the sound bites that you're about to hear are best understood when placed in the correct perspective.
Miss World 2001 is Miss Nigeria.
It is the dream of many young girls all over the world to be the subject of such an announcement, to be told that she has been crowned as either Miss World or Miss Universe, and that she shall reign for the next 365 days or so, not merely over land, but also over seas. Evidently, Barbadian girls are among that number of hopefuls.
Maxine Barrow, Miss Paddock Road.
I'm Sophia Dial, Miss Dayton's Road.
I am Karen Cobham, Miss Bayville.
I'm Ingrid Aline, Miss Salkeith.
I'm Suzette Dial, Miss Bullins Avenue.
I am John Paris, Miss Culloden Road.
For this reason, many of them have entered beauty competition at the parochial level, well to gain what they often termed as experience and exposure. Hopefully, this increased experience and exposure would have perhaps prepared them for the competition at the national level. Backtrack to the year 1974, one of the more celebrated years in Barbados as it related to the Miss Barbados pageant. It is the year that Linda Yvonne Fields is crowned Miss Barbados World. She is to go on to represent the island in the 24th Miss World pageant, November 22, 1974, to be held in the Royal Albert Hall, London. Linda Fields placed among the first 15 Barbados' best showing ever. The following year, Linda Fields crowns Peter Hazel Graves. Now to the 1980s. Nina Clark won the crown in 1983 and went on to represent Barbados in the Miss World pageant. The 1983 rebirth of the competition, as it were, in a sense generated great interest in the pageant of 1984.
Lisa Worm, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Barbados 1984. And here to crown contestant number 6, Miss Barbados 1984.
And Barbados had its ambassador for the international competition. There was a heightened interest in the pageant, and so many were now looking forward to the competition of the following year, 1985. Here now are the events leading up to the pageant, the actual night, and the controversial activities that followed the crowning of Miss Barbados 1985.
It is February 1985. A number of young ladies are expressing interest in the competition. Preliminary judging takes place on the 23rd of that month.
Contestant number 10, Kathy King, was an 11th hour addition to the final 10 winners of last night's preliminary round. She was chosen despite a couple of near falls. The spokesman for the pageant, Dick White, says none of the girls have been trained for the preliminaries and that the wet stage could also be blamed for Miss King's near spills. He said the judges were looking more at beauty. At the beginning of the show, compere Margaret Allman outlined the criteria by which the girls were judged. She said the contestants were judged on the basis of beauty, choice of attire, and personality and poise. Also going through to the April 30th finals are Gail Prescott, Gail Herrera, Bridget Bethel, Margaret Bovell, Elizabeth Wadman, Carolyn Brathwaite, Deborah Collins, Gillian Chase, Eugenia Alcine, and Kay Johnson. These girls will compete for the title of Miss Barbados Universe at the Globe Cinema.
It is Saturday, the 20th day of April 1985. The contestants are participating in a motorcade. This motorcade is traversing the streets of Bridgetown.
The hard work has had a positive effect on the contestants, who are almost unrecognizable from the often camera-shy, unassuming girls of little more than a month ago when the preliminary contest was held. On Friday, the judges will be introduced and the before-the-show judging will start taking place. On Friday, the girls will also take up official residence at the Carby Hotel until Tuesday, the 30th, the day of the contest. So from now until the big night at the Globe Cinema, here's looking at you. Margaret Bovell, Miss Abed, Kathy King, Miss Black and White Scotch Whiskey, Bridget Bethel, she's Miss Tone Beauty Bar, Carolyn Brathwaite, Miss Feelings, Elizabeth Wadman, sponsored by Dotto Boutique, Gail Prescott, Miss Pine Hill Dairy, Deborah Collins, Miss Sudsill, Miss Executive Kay Johnson, and Gillian Chase, who's sponsored by Temptation Shop.
Well, we move on now to Saturday, April the 27th, 1985. It was a rainy day in Barbados, therefore the contestants enjoyed what they termed a light day at the Caribbean Hotel.
With most of the exercise drills, grueling photograph sessions, and radio and television interviews behind them, the girls say they intend to do some relaxing over the next couple of days. In the run-up to the pageant finals on Tuesday night, the girls will take part in just one more fashion show, attend just one more cocktail party, and have just one more rehearsal before the show. It was too wet for the beach today, so they sat around practicing what they'd learned in the way of social graces during the last 2 months. On the night, they'll be judged on poise as well as beauty, choice of costume, and intelligence. 3 chaperones will accompany the girls during their stay at the hotel. One of them, a former Miss Barbados contestant, Jackie Thompson, says the girls are getting along well.
They're taking it in the stride. They really handle it very well. They're accustomed now because it's been like about nearly 2 months since they've been doing it. So they're getting along. It's easy to them now. What do
you think about the quality of the contest compared to last year's show?
Well, first thing, there are more girls in this year's show, which is like more work for everybody else and more people to handle. But I think that the quality is still good, and we're trying to make it even better than last year.
So till Tuesday night at 8 p.m., you can start placing bets on your winner.
Well, it is April the 29th, 1985. The contestants assemble for the final preliminary judging in preparation for the final night.
The 8 other Miss Barbados hopefuls voting amongst themselves for the girl they thought the friendliest. Kay Johnson won the bouquet and trophy. A panel of beauticians, professional photographers, and members of the media voted for the girl they thought the most photogenic. The results are to be released tomorrow. Starting this past weekend, a 7-member panel of judges began appraising the girls. On Saturday, the contestants were judged on social grace and general deportment. In the swimsuit competition, they were judged on beauty of face and figure. Tonight, the judges will be looking for intelligence in personal interview sessions they'll be having with the girls. So by the time the girls reach the stage tomorrow night, they will already have earned 75% of their points. Tomorrow night at the pageant, the 9 contestants will be judged on poise and personality, and each contestant will be asked one of the questions she's already been asked during her personal interview. There'll also be a prize for the best evening gown. There'll be no Miss Personality this year. The highest scores will determine the 5 finalists. Their points will be zeroed, and starting all over again, the finalist with the highest points gained on Tuesday night alone becomes Miss Barbados 1985.
It is now the final night, April the 30th, 1985. Despite the unfavorable weather conditions, Barbadians assembled in the Globe Cinema to witness the pageant and the crowning of Miss Barbados 1985. No one in the audience anticipated a list of controversial events that was to have followed the crowning. Once again, here is Donna St. Hill, who followed the events in 1985 and reported.
The $30 and $40 admission fees and the intermittent showers didn't deter many last night, and the organizers of the show had a spectacular package for those who made it. What brought them there in droves were the girls, a sample of the best Barbados has to offer. They appeared first in costume, moving to the strains of a popular calypso, and introduced themselves to a responsive audience. The contestants weren't judged in this category, but the judges began awarding points when the 9 contestants made their second appearance on stage, this time in swimsuit. The next appearance was in evening wear. After they paraded along the ramp, they arrived at the most trying part of the evening, the on-stage interview.
Black and white.
And then came the moment of truth, the judge's decision. Elizabeth Wadman was judged Miss Photogenic, and the judges also felt she wore the best evening gown. But there were a few more things in store for Miss Wadman. The title of Miss Barbados 1985, a trip to Miami to attend the Miss Universe pageant, a trip to London to attend Miss World, a trip to Trinidad to attend Miss Maha International, the $4,000 Olga Lopes-Seal Scholarship, a wardrobe of evening gowns and sportswear, accessories, jewelry, 1 year's membership in a local health club, a weekend for 2 at Haywards, and $700 in cash. The first runner-up, Margaret Bovell, gets a trip to New York to take part in the Miss Central America and the Caribbean World Pageant, luggage, jewelry, shoes, and clothing.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
the second runner-up, Gail Prescott, gets a trip to Canada, a trophy, a standing lamp, and a watch. Bridget Bethel was 4th, and Kay Johnson 5th.
With a bouquet for her.
Donna St. Hill, World Scene.
Thank you all. We see you again next.
Well, the following day, May the 1st, 1985, the nation was abuzz as news of the birthplace of the recently crowned Queen spread throughout Barbados.
The local franchise holders say the rumors about Elizabeth Wadman's nationality have only surfaced because she's white. They say the Miss Universe pageant allows any winner, no matter what her religion, class, or color is, to represent her country as long as she's lived in that country for at least 6 months. The organizers of the Miss Barbados Beauty Pageant say Miss Wadman has been living here for 9 years and 7 months and became a Barbadian citizen in 1982. They say the new Miss Barbados matches all standards required for the international competitions she'll attend.
Evidently, no debate is final in Barbados without the voices of the people.
I think that there are more suitable Barbadian black women here that would do more justice to Barbados than a white Canadian.
If she has gained the right to be a Barbadian, well then why not represent us? As long as she's worthy, she should be able to represent us.
She must have qualified in some way to be able to be in the show in the first place, so I see absolutely nothing wrong with it.
If I knew that she was a Canadian, right, I'd be in favor of her representing Barbados. I think it should be Barbadian, you know.
Miss Wadman will attend the first of 3 beauty pageants, the Miss Universe pageant, on the 15th of July. Donaldson Hill, the world scene.
The nation has now moved on. It is now a few weeks after the competition, May the 15th, 1985. Barbadians are learning that the recently crowned Miss Barbados is not eligible for the Miss World pageant to be held in November.
The organizers of the Miss World pageant say they're surprised Canadian-born Elizabeth Wadman was even allowed to enter the contest. The executive chairman of the Miss World organization, Eric Morley, says Miss Wadman's status as a legal immigrant doesn't comply with the rules for entry to the Miss World pageant. The rules of the international pageant stipulate that a representative must be a naturalized citizen as well as a holder of a valid passport of the country she's chosen to represent. Morley says there's no alternative but to have the first runner-up, Margaret Bovell, represent Barbados at the Miss World contest. Miss Wadman, however, is still eligible to attend the Miss Universe and Miss Maha beauty pageants. The Miss Universe organization allows any winner who's been in the country she's chosen to represent for more than 6 months to compete.
In a very clever and witty manner, perhaps a testimony to the Calypsonians' ability to be a poet and a historian, the mighty Gabby artfully weaved the events into a calypso in 1985. He called it simply Miss Barbados.
Miss Barbados, never hear about breakthroughs, no, nothing so. Miss Barbados is a Canadian poppy show. Miss Barbados, are you sure she read it? Miss Barbados, Miss Barbados, something like that, hey, my surrounded the occasion. Society welcome this friendly invasion. All the talk was about who looked best. Yes, which girl had the most zest, who possessed the nicest dress. The beauty contest had international judging. No hanky-panky, no friggin' in the rigging. And even though we know beauty is beauty universally, that Canadian girl could never represent me.
Abruptly, the Calypso Miss Barbados came to an end on our radio stations. Well, back in the 1980s, you would recall that several pieces of our Calypso music were banned for one reason or another. So when the mighty Gabby sang Miss Barbados, there was a general feeling among the people that this song would have suffered a similar fate. On Friday, July the 26th, one of our daily news carried an article titled, and I quote, "Miss Barbados is put on the ice," end of quote. Eventually, a news conference was called, and the Barbadians were told of the recently crowned Queen's intentions and feelings about the Calypso. Additionally, the intentions of the first runner-up were revealed.
Miss Wadman says she hasn't even heard the song Miss Barbados, that she has no private lawyer looking into a possible libel suit, and has no hand in the song being suspended from the airwaves. Miss Wadman says she likes Calypso and feels that everyone has the right to express his or her own views, but that she won't be held responsible for another one of Gabby's songs being banned.
I feel that I am being used as a scapegoat for Gabby, because maybe a lot of his songs have not or have been banned recently, so the nation says. But I think it unfair to ask me whether I am taking any legal action against Gabby and have my answer as no, and still print that I supposedly am. I don't know where this has started. I just heard about it last night, and next thing you know, it's in the paper this morning.
This is just another in the long line of controversial events which followed the crowning of Miss Barbados 1985 3 months ago.
This out of the way and knowledge that the recently crowned queen had absolutely no intentions of suing, the song filled the airways again. Barbadians heard the song in its entirety.
Barbados had a beauty competition. Girls on television fighting to win the crown. So when I hear a Canadian in beating, I thought that was joking. I say they only teasing until they bring out this slick-looking white chick, roped down in a gong. People in the club start to frown. Next day the news light up the town all around. The Canadian girl with the Belgian beauty crown. And now Miss Barbados never hear about flying fish. Miss Barbados never hear about cocoa dish. Miss Barbados never hear about breadfruit, no nothing so. Miss Barbados is a Canadian poppy show. Oh, oh, Miss Barbados. Miss Barbados. Miss Barbados. Publicity surrounded the occasion. Society welcome this friendly invasion. All the talk was about who looked best. Yes, which girl had the most zest, who possessed the nicest dress. The beauty contest had international judging. No hanky-panky in, no friggin' in the rigging. And even though we know beauty is beauty universally, the Canadian girl could never represent me. Because Miss Barbados never hear about Clement Payne. Miss Barbados never hear about sugar cane. Miss Barbados never hear about Siega, that's no lie. Miss Barbados is as Bajan as apple pie. Aye, 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 Miss Barbados. Miss Barbados. Miss Barbados. Hey! 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 If you see the big prizes they offer, jewelry and trips galore, things they never give Calypso, the beauty queen would get a limousine. Chauffeur driven, if you please, everything to put she at ease. So when they announce this Caucasian as the winner, if you hear the booze that night, some say she get it because she white, but they didn't know that she wasn't Bajan at all. And when they find out the truth, they hold down their head and ball. Oh Lord, Miss Barbados never hear about Aki Tree. Miss Barbados never hear about Sagari or even me. Miss Barbados never hear about Bull Job, no nothing so. So when she gets she bed and citizenship, let me know. Miss Barbados.
Miss Wadman's citizenship papers and passport application are still being processed, and organizers say if all isn't ready in time for the November Miss World show, Liz Wadman will forfeit her chance at the international competition. But the first runner-up won't be taking her place, nor the second, nor the third. First runner-up Margaret Bavell agrees with this decision.
For the time that I have known Liz, Liz has been a very beautiful person, and I see no reason why she cannot represent Barbados in the Miss World competition. And as a result of all of this controversy, under no circumstances will I represent Barbados in the Miss World competition.
Miss Wadman didn't win a place in the recently held Miss Universe pageant in Miami, which she described as hectic, but says she has no regrets.
I'm glad to be home.
Eventually, the beauty queen's citizenship and passport were regularized. She departed Barbados in November 1985 and was the island's representative at the 35th Miss World pageant held on November 14, 1985 in the Royal Albert Hall, London. Miss Barbados 1985 did not place in that pageant. The controversial activities surrounding the Miss Barbados pageant 1985, and so it came to pass in Barbados.
But God is a liar now. A Canadian could never win Miss Barbados. I don't believe that. No.